Hey guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Lokesh. I work as a lead architect. So as you can see in this video, we are going to go through a recording, rather a video that is, available in YouTube. It's called Deep Dive into LLMs like ChatGPT, and it's, recorded and the author is Andrej Karpathy. So Andres, is a renowned figure when it comes to Gen AI or AI world. He was one of the founding team members of ChatGPT. So maybe let's look into the the career or maybe the resume of Andres in Gemini. So let me just type who is Andrej Karpathy. So when it comes to ChatGPT or GPT, you would only be knowing some certain famous people like Sam Altman or some other folks who have become very famous. But the people who are really following Gen AI and AI and who are maybe following this technology, how this technology emerged, and what were the pillars that led to the very found adoption and how this technology got famous. They would know all these people. It's not only one person. Obviously, every company would have a face, as in they would try to promote a person who can carry the company forward. For example, in case of Microsoft, it was Bill Gates, and now it's Satya. And in case of Google, it was uh, I think Larry, and now we have our own CEO. So, in the same way, it's important for us to not only listen to yes the faces of these companies, but we also should pay attention to all the other individuals who have helped a company grow. And to be honest, I might have heard about Andrej, but I might have, ignored the name. But to be honest, I think recently a post popped up in LinkedIn about this video. So I think the title of the post was "If Andrej uploads a video, you must watch it." So when I paid close attention to it, it turns out that Andrej Karpathy is one of the renowned persons behind GPT and Gen A and AI revolution that has taken the world by storm. And if you see here in I think in a very short summary it says that Andrej Karpathy is a Slovak Canadian computer scientist renowned for his contributions to artificial intelligence, deep learning, and computer vision. He serves as the director of AI and autopilot vision at Tesla and was a founding member of OpenAI. So he was there in Tesla as well, but now is also recognized for educational work, including designing at Stanford. Okay, so his resume looks really solid. So, that's the reason we are going to deep dive into this video, as the title says, along with Andrej. So we have learned a lot of things around AI, Gen AI. If you are watching this channel, you might know about it. We have come, I would not say a long way, but we have, gathered the base knowledge on how to build AI applications or how Gen AI works. But it would be very interesting to go through this video. This video is, available free on his channel, so which is like a gift to everyone. And the first thing that I would be doing, and I recommend you should also do, is to subscribe to his channel, and so that we are updated whenever he drops a new video. And it's a 3 hour long video. We might not be able to cover the entire video in this one particular stretch, but maybe what we can do is we can go through it in parts. So I'll try to upload as and when I try to go through this. So let's go through this, and as we have been doing in the past, it's not just a listen video. We will stop the video, we'll try to do our reasoning, we'll try to see whether the understanding that we had about ChatGPT is or Gen AI or AI technology is accurate or not. So we'll try to maybe some of the things that Andres speaks in this video might not relate to us or might not, make sense to us. So we'll try to Gemini it or Google it or, try to find online. Uh, and that is how, you gain knowledge. It's not like you just, read the books or watch the videos, but you have to have your own reasoning capabilities or your own, capabilities of questioning the topics that you have done or that you've gone through. So that is how you gain knowledge on a particular subject. So with that said, let's dive into this video and start this video.
What it is that this tool is. It is obviously magical and amazing in some respects. It's
Let's start
really good.
from beginning.
Hi everyone. So I've wanted to make this video for a while. It is a comprehensive but general audience in some respects. It's really good at some things, not very good at other things, and there's also a lot of sharp edges to be aware of. So what is behind this text box? You can put anything in there and press enter, but what should we be putting there, and what are these words generated back? How does this work, and what are you talking to exactly? So I'm hoping to get at all those topics in this video. We're going to go through the entire pipeline of how this stuff is built, but I'm going to keep everything accessible to a general audience. So let's take a look at first how you build something like ChatGPT, and along the way I'm going to talk about some of the sort of cognitive psychological implications of these tools. Okay, so let's build ChatGPT. So there's going to be multiple stages arranged sequentially. The first stage
So one thing that I think stands out here is Enrich is using the word general audience, so which means I believe that it would not be a video where a lot of heavy technical terms would be thrown out. Yes, there would be some terms, and you cannot avoid while you're explaining the certain things. But maybe I'm assuming if Andres is going to throw out these terms, he's going to maybe give some examples from real world or maybe try to deep dive into those so that we are able to follow it. So let's continue.
is called the pre-training stage. And the first step of the pre-training stage is to download and process the internet. Now, to get a sense of what this roughly looks like, I recommend looking at this URL here. So this company called Hugging Face collected and created and curated this data set called Fine Web. And they go into a lot of detail in this blog post on how they constructed the Fine Web dataset. And all of the major LLM providers like OpenAI, Anthropic, and Google, and so on, will have some equivalent internally of something like the Fine Web dataset. So roughly what are we trying to achieve here? We're trying to get a ton of text from the internet, from publicly available sources. So we're trying to have a huge quantity of very high quality documents. And we also want a very large diversity of documents because we want to have a lot of knowledge inside these models. So we want large diversity of high quality documents, and we want many, many of them. And achieving this is quite complicated, and as you can see here, it takes multiple stages to do well. So let's take a look at what some of these stages look like in a bit. For now, I'd like to note that, for example, the FineWeb dataset, which is fairly representative what you would see in a production-grade application, actually ends up being only about 44 terabytes of disk space.
Let's pause it here and let's look at this pre-training pipeline. So you have URL filtering, then text extraction, then language filtering. Then I'm not able to read this. So there is some filtering as well. And then setup, C4 filters, custom filters, PII removal. Okay, some of these I think some of these objects I'm not exactly sure, or terms I'm not exactly sure what are these. UR filtering would be, so taking a step back, I think pre-training is for pre-training we need a lot of data. So he's talking about the Hugging Face here, and this my Hugging Face is a website or is a company rather which provides lot of things that can help you build your models or maybe that can help you learn AI and do practical stuff. I think practical stuff is the most important. And in order to, so we always have heard about that how they came up with this models were, or these applications were, that they actually read the entire data that is available internet. So in other words, that is called, maybe web scraping. So maybe for that you need URL filtering, that you don't want to, go into the URLs which are proprietary, as well as do not contain, the ethical information. It may have non-ethical information. So that is called URL filtering. Then you have text extraction, then language filtering. Again, if you have have all the information about uh, you have the information from all the URLs, you then want to have another guardrail, which is you don't want to have, words that are not ethical, that uh, maybe swear words or maybe some other things. So that is where you have the language filtering. Then the other blocks within this pipeline, I'm not clear. PII removal, we are sure about that. We don't want to, store the PII removal, uh, or rather, these companies, they don't want to save their data or train their models based on the PII data. But another, side of this theory is, you might have heard the news that a lot of organizations are suing these bigger companies, especially ChatGPT. I recently heard the news that there is a, website, a news website in India called NDTV, and they were trying to sue ChatGPT for obtaining the information without getting their approval. So maybe that is also there is a legal implication on that. Whatever websites that are available publicly, maybe you're not allowed to extract information from them, or from those websites. So that's not legal. So then, comes the fact that if you have to, if you are a bigger organization and you have to train your, model, and for that you need the data from internet, how do you identify which one is, a kind of proprietary URLs and which are free to use? So that is where I think uh, we go into what you call muddy waters or gray area. So that's interesting to, you know, find out how these companies have gained this information. So let's keep watching.
You can get a USB stick for like a terabyte very easily, or I think this could fit on a single hard drive almost today. So this is not a huge amount of data at the end of the day. Even though the internet is very, very large, we're working with text, and we're also filtering it aggressively. So we end up with about 44 terabytes in this example. So let's take a look at kind of what this data looks like and what some of these stages also are. So the starting point for a lot of these efforts, and something that contributes most of the data by the end of it, is data from Common Crawl. So Common Crawl is an organization that has been basically scouring the internet since 2007. So as of 2024, for example, Common Crawl has indexed 2.7 billion web pages, and they have all these crawlers going around the internet. And what you end up doing basically is you start with a few seed web pages, and then you follow all the links. And you just keep following links, and you keep indexing all the information, and you end up with a ton of data of the internet over time. So this is usually the starting point for a lot of these efforts. Now, this common crawl data is quite raw and is filtered in many, many different ways. So here they document, this is the same diagram, they document a little bit the kind of processing that happens in these stages. So the first thing here is something called URL filtering. So what that is referring to is that there's these block lists.
So I think important thing that we gain from this particular snippet of video is, I already knew about it because as you must have seen that we are going through a book called AI Engineering, where I'm discovering chapter 10 of that book. But in the other chapters, I also studied that there are some organizations that are already, capturing the data from internet. So there is something called indexing all the web pages. So once you index these web pages, maybe when you try to search online, you can use indexes to search the web pages. So there is a company called, I think, Crawling Content. I think that is the name. So maybe let's try to Gemini that. Crawling Content. Maybe that is the company. No, I think there was a different name for that. Let me just go slightly back.
Since 2007. So as of 2024, for example, Common Crawl has
Common Crawl. So Common Crawl, sorry, my bad. It's called Common Crawl. And this particular organization, as you can see, this has been it has been crawling the web since 2007. Crawling the web means it has been trying to get the information of all the websites, what is the URL, what content is there in the websites, all the public websites, not the private websites, since 2007. So you can see here that it has nearly 200 to 400 terabytes of textual content obtained via automatic web crawling, usually every 1 or 2 months. Okay, and it as of April 2024, it contains 2.7 billion web pages, totaling 386 terabytes of uncompressed HTML text content. 96 crawls have been raised since, and 3 crawls from which are different format. Yeah, that's okay. So let's continue and return to the video.
2.7 billion web pages, and they have all these crawlers going around the internet. And what you end up doing basically is you start with a few seed web pages, and then you follow all the links. And you just keep following links, and you keep indexing all the information, and you end up with a ton of data of the internet over time. So this is usually the starting point for a lot of these efforts. Now, this common crawl data is quite raw and is filtered in many, many different ways. So here they document, this is the same diagram, they document a little bit the kind of processing that happens in these stages. So the first thing here is something called URL filtering. So what that is referring to is that there's these block lists of basically URLs that are, or domains that you don't want to be getting data from. So usually this includes things like malware websites, spam websites, marketing websites.
You can see here our thinking was correct. So your filtering is actually the process of only getting the information from uh, the genuine websites where you don't have these categories like adult, aggressive, blogs, celebrities, and some of the other categories like drug, dangerous material, cryptojacking. So apart from these websites, so you can see there are a lot of it, especially the adult websites. I think it is maybe more than 4 million. And then the second highest category is cryptojacking, mining site jacking. I'm not exactly sure on what is this. So there are 16,000 such websites. So apart from these websites, they have gathered the information apart from these websites.
Racist websites, adult sites, and things like that. So there's a ton of different types of websites that are just eliminated at this stage because we don't want them in our data set. The second part is text extraction. You have to remember that all of these web pages, this is the raw HTML of these web pages that are being saved by these crawlers. So when I go to inspect here, this is what the raw HTML actually looks like. You'll notice that it's got all this markup, like lists and stuff like that, and there's CSS and all this kind of stuff. So this is computer code almost for these web pages. But what we really want is we just want this text, right? We just want the text of this web page, and we don't want the navigation and things like that. So there's a lot of filtering and processing and heuristics that go into adequately filtering for just the good content of these web pages. The next stage here is language filtering. So for example, FineWeb filters using a language classifier. They try to guess what language every single web page is in, and then they only keep web pages that have more than 65% of English, as an example. And so you can get a sense that this is like a design decision that different companies can take for themselves. What fraction of all different types of languages are we going to include in our data set? Because, for example, if we filter out all of the Spanish as an example, then you might imagine that our model later will not be very good at Spanish because it's just never seen that much data of that language. And so different companies can focus on multilingual performance to a different degree, as an example. So FineWeb is quite focused on English. And so their language model, if they end up training one later, will be very good at English, but not maybe very good at other languages. After language filtering, there's a few other filtering steps and deduplication and things like that. Finishing with, for example, the PII removal. This is personally identifiable information. So as an example, addresses. So
So another important concept or the thing that Andrej has talked about here is if you are building a model that is capable of answering, in English language, that you would want to make a decision that only, if you're building it from scratch, provided, so you have to make a decision that you only want to, get the information from the web pages which contain English data or English language text. And whereas if you want to, make it in maybe other language like Hindi or Spanish, so that is where, you might have to get the data from those websites. So you might want to reach out to some of the companies called Common Crawl, or if you're doing it from scratch, then you have to make a decision that, there could be some score associated with each of the websites. So for example, in this case, and this says that score should be greater than 0.65. That not enters actually, it's written in the Hugging Face portal that they considered only the English text websites where the score is 0.06. So score may be ways to identify uh, what is the majority of the language in text that is written for a particular website. So that is how I think they are doing it. So another thing is I think after language filtering, Hendrich has also skipped some of these items which we were also not sure, and then he straight away moved into PIA removal. So let's see whether Hendrich tries to explain some of these smaller blocks.
social security numbers and things like that, you would try to detect them and you would try to filter out those kinds of web pages from the data set as well. So there's a lot of stages here, and I won't go into full detail, but it is a fairly extensive part of the pre-processing, and you end up with, for example, the FineWeb dataset. So when you click in on it, you can see some examples here of what this actually ends up looking like, and anyone can download this on the Hugging Face webpage. And so here's some examples of the final text that ends up in the training set. So this is some article about tornadoes in 2012. So there's some tornadoes in 2012 and what happened. This next one is something about, did you know you have two little yellow 9-volt battery-sized adrenal glands in your body? Okay, so this is some kind of a odd medical article. So just think of these as basically web pages on the internet filtered just for the text in various ways. And now we have a ton of text, 40 terabytes of it. And that now is the starting point for the next step of this stage. Now, I wanted to give you an intuitive sense of
Okay, so before we go into the next stage, I think we'll limit this video till here, and I think some of the understandings that I had, I know some of the concepts that I had read while getting to know more on Gen AI and AI are reconciling what Andrej is saying here. So maybe I was not absolutely sure on, or I didn't know how this collecting of information from the internet works. So some of the things like URL filtering, text extraction, and language filtering. and some of the other blocks, are very important, and that is how it should be done. So we'll continue the series, and this was part one. So I'm not sure how many parts we'll be able to make it, but I'll personally maybe if I'm not able to record this, maybe I'll personally try to watch this entire video, and I would recommend the same to you guys. So we'll meet in the next video, guys. Till then, take good care of yourself, and thank you for watching.